What's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are Grown A Geeks. This is Weigh In Wednesday, and we are here to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. The new movie dropped by Marvel came out July 26th officially. A lot of people got to see it on the 25th. I was fortunate enough to get to go see it on the 25th. Saw Teresa there. We enjoyed the movie. Took my wife. It was her birthday. We went to a special screening. Got to give a shout out to MCU ATL as they were the host of the event that we attended. Got some really cool swag. Starting out, just want to put this up there, show this up, and that should not still be playing, so let's knock that out. Got this nifty little statue, something else to put on my shelves, and this thing is so awesome. I love it so much. It is so cool. This is ATL Ho, let's effing go. Got this nifty shirt that matches. Same thing. It says the same. I have a bag that says MCU ATL. I got a collection of posters. I got my picture taken with Deadpool and Wolverine. We had a great time. It was a lot of fun. But we're not here to talk about the fun that was had. We're here to talk about the movie. So, as we get to our spoiler review, let me tell everyone who's watching, this is in fact a spoiler review. You know what? Just so that no one can have any issues, where is my spoiler tag? We're going to throw the spoiler review up. Let me add that.
Warning.
Yep. Spoiler review. We'll put that one up there. Boom. Now it's up there and it's official. So anybody isn't sure, is unaware, have any question as to what's going on? Joining me tonight, let's just go round the room here. Starting off with my man is over here. I got to. My man is over here at the bathhouse, joining us, hanging out with us. Took time away from his massage to be here. Y'all say what's up to RG Cashmere.
Feeling fresh and limber. Another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Ready to do it.
Right. Down below him, we have Jeffrey, JPNT17. What's going on, Jeff?
What's up, guys?
Joining us again tonight, the marvelous Miss Kennedy. What's going on, Teresa?
Not too much. Hanging in there.
Wonderful. And I, of course, am your host, Elder Geek Sam. And we are the Grown A Geeks. So let us get into this movie. A lot of fun was had. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It was, so far, I think this is the best of the Deadpool movies. Of the three movies they've had out so far, Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine. Technically not Deadpool 3. I think this is the best of those movies so far. Ryan Reynolds reprising his role and did a great job. Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine. Mixed feelings on that, but gotta say, was not disappointed to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine like I thought I would be. I thought it was like, oh man, here we go again every time we turn. But at this point, it's just who I expect to be Wolverine. So kind of used to seeing Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and it feels weird to even think of anybody else being in the role, despite actually seeing other people be in the role. But I can't say I was necessarily sold on that either. So let's start off with just our, the way we typically do our general reviews, what they did well, things that we liked, where they missed the mark, places that they could have improved. Then we'll give our overall, since this is a live discussion, we encourage you to comment. Anybody who wants to jump in here, has something to say, please feel free. We'll be sure to put your comments up on the screen. If you would like to join the conversation. Remember, this is a live show. You will be screened in the green room before we bring you onto the show. But you are welcome to be a part of the show and give your 2 cents. We appreciate it. We like the comments. We like the engagement. RG, you're here next to me, so let's start off. What were some of the things they did right? What were some of the things you liked about this movie?
Well, I'm going to have to agree with you. Out of the 3 Deadpool movies, this was the best. I did enjoy it considerably more than the last one, slightly more than the first one. One thing that they definitely did well was all the jokes landed. Like all the comedy landed really well. Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds is going to be crass. It's going to be some toilet humor. It's going to be crude. It's going to be rude. All of that worked. All the jokes hit. I was completely fine with it. It was hilarious. I laughed. This was the most I laughed during a Marvel movie. So I enjoyed all of that. The action was on point, right amount of gore, right amount of, it was everything you want out of Deadpool. Everything I wanted out of Deadpool. So they did that very well. I did enjoy that. I would say another thing that they did well is the incorporation of I think the plot of the movie and where it was going and the intent of the movie and what it was trying to do. I mean, it got marketed as him being a Marvel Jesus, and that necessarily wasn't the point of the movie. So I like that it didn't take on the weight of attempting to save the MCU. So that was one of the things I definitely enjoyed about it, is that it didn't try to do that. It didn't try to do too much. It stayed being a Deadpool movie. And so that's what I really, really liked about it, is that it stayed being a Deadpool movie. It was just funny. It was crass. The action was on point. There's a ton more I could say, but I want everybody, let's get everybody's, and we can certainly expound as this progresses.
Before we move on to Jeff and some of the things he liked, I want to welcome back to the show the only one Blade. What's going on?
Hi, I'm here. I made it.
You made it. Wonderful. So good to have you back. So we're going around the room right now, and it's perfect. It brought you right in where you need to be. And so those of you who've been following the channel, this is my co-host. She's on Why Did I Watch That? We got a bunch of crappy movies to catch up on, and I don't even remember the last one we picked, but I'm sure it was horrible. It will be okay if we don't watch it. So get back to some of those.
I think we owe Jeff a movie. I'm pretty sure we do.
No, you owe Jeff a movie because I watched it. That Haley Stanfield movie.
Fairly Legal.
Fairly Legal.
What's the name
you
of
owe
it?
Jeff a movie. I remember that.
Yeah. You're not getting out of that.
We'll come back to that. But Jeff, talk to me. What was one of the things, what was something Marvel did right with this movie? What's going on?
I think that just to piggyback off of what RG said, it was billed almost like this is the movie that's gonna tie up all these loose ends for the multiverse, and what it did was actually tie up the Fox universe, which Deadpool. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm on record. Deadpool is not a character that I particularly enjoy in the comics. I usually find him a little bit annoying and over the top. The times that I've seen him brought to life in other media, which would probably be I think it was either one of the Spider-Man cartoons on Disney XD. There was a Deadpool character that showed up, and he was very annoying. And he came across very much how I read him in the comic books. But there's something about the way Ryan Reynolds does the character where he doesn't feel frantic and in your face with his crassness. He's just very smoothly sarcastic, and to the point where like usually with Deadpool it's just like I just want to slap him, period. But with this Deadpool, it's like as long as he's not talking crazy to me, I'm cool. You know what I mean? And I think Ryan Reynolds really does a good job of walking a tightrope and making a, for some people, fairly unlikable character very likable.
Yeah.
But I do think that like the sentimentality that they show to the Fox movies and the characters that we liked in those movies and the stories that we actually liked in those movies, because a lot of times, you know, the Fox MCU gets shat on, but and a lot of times rightfully so. Like there are a few bad projects in that slate, but there were good times, there were good moments, and I think Deadpool is one of those. And you know, it did a good job of kind of being like, hey, like you didn't hate everything. It was like that old thing coming back, like, you know, we had a couple good times, you know, and I think I think that was the thing that I walked away, especially even like the closing where it's like, I don't know what the white people song they was playing, "The Time of Your Life" or whatever. Is that REM? Is that no? That's Green Day. The song they were playing on the outro, showing like all the like behind the scenes stuff from all the other Fox movies. I was like, huh. I forgot I actually like did kind of care about these people at one point until the MCU came along and gave me something better. I did somewhat enjoy the X-Men universe, so I think the respect that was given to what the Fox universe did, especially with one of the major cameos, who is the reason why all these movies get made to begin with Wesley Snipes. I think that I enjoyed that it was respectful, that it kind of reminded us that like, yes, the MCU has been amazing, but like there were some good times before that too. And we're not going to just like throw it all out in the trash heap and not act like some of this stuff wasn't good. So yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree. And that's a good breakdown on Ryan Reynolds' comedy. That's a good way to explain that and you know, kind of explain his humor, because it is mostly sarcasm, but it's funny sarcasm, and it's usually directed at the person that it needs to be directed to, which actually makes, as RG said, makes the joke land, as opposed to being sarcastic and being an asshole just for the sake. And I think that's what makes the humor really hit. Teresa, what were some of the things that Deadpool and Wolverine did right?
Well, I'm over here. I don't really know how to feel because I agree with RG.
All right, folks, that's been
Marcus,
our
stay
show.
down.
We appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Make sure to
It's a
like,
multiverse.
subscribe.
Welcome to Earth. Welcome to Earth 1087.
Exactly.
The humor was good. The jokes did land, and you know, as I mentioned a lot, I'm not
a
big on
comedy
comedy.
She don't
I'm
like
not a
that
comedy
funny shit.
person. And
Right.
and Jeffrey said the comic Deadpool made you want to smack him, but the Ryan Reynolds one doesn't. He did for me. Deadpool 1 and 2, I really wanted to smack him, and I really only watched them because they were Marvel. But this one was actually funny. It was good. I loved the way he and Hugh Jackman played off of each other. I loved every single one of the cameos. And afterwards, of course, I don't know some of the X-Men characters as well as some of you guys do who read the comics, but of course I've been, you know, watching the review and Easter egg videos, and so they're explaining to me some of the people that were in there that I didn't know, and so that makes it even better. All of the cameos were really good, but it was just a really enjoyable movie, especially for it to be a Deadpool movie because Deadpool gets on my nerves.
Yeah. That was. I did not think that I would enjoy it as much as I did. And when we get to like where they fell flat, I don't even know that that's really the place that it needs to fall. But I have some thoughts about what I really enjoyed from the movie, and despite my thoughts and intentions going in. For those of you who had watched our pregame, where we did our preview, as we were discussing what we were expecting or what we hoped the movie would address and answer, none of that happened. Like none of it. And so it really forced me to kind of just go in and watch the movie that was being shown. And I appreciate it so much more for the movie that I saw. So yeah, I'll clarify in a bit here. Denesia, since there can only be one blade, what was some of the things I do like? That is one of the most meta jokes in the movie. And it's like such an ironically funny line for them to get Wesley Snipes to come back, and then his comment that there can only be one blade, given that apparently we not getting another blade anytime soon. Hey, it landed and fired on all cylinders. But Denesia, what were some of the things you thought Deadpool and Wolverine did right in this movie?
Kind of what everybody else has been saying. I mean, I love Ryan Reynolds back to his Van Wilder days. He's just a charismatic asshole. I mean, it is what it is. I can't think of anybody else that could play it the way that he does. Not only were the jokes funny, I like that there was enough time for the jokes to really land for you to get it. Some of that stuff that happened, it took a second and you were like, wait a minute. Oh, that's, and so there was space. Things weren't being stepped on. That happens a lot. Like you're trying to get all these jokes out. You're trying to be really, really funny. And that's not what the movie was doing. That they were placed in the right place. It was funny when it needed to be funny. You had those moments you're like, oh, that's kind of sweet, but they kept it very light. I just love that it felt like a love letter to the fans, right? Like it felt like these are all these moments you've been waiting for. There was so many of the Leo DiCaprio memes, right? Like, oh my God. I purposely did not watch any of the previews, anything. I wanted to go in not knowing anything besides it was Wolverine and Deadpool. And so I had no idea what the storyline was going to be. I stayed away from all of that. And I think that actually helped me enjoy the movie a little bit more because I wasn't trying to think ahead. I wasn't waiting for scenes that I saw in the preview. Like none of that. I knew nothing. So I went in just watching a movie and it was a really, really good watch. I actually went with a group of people here that I just met, and to go with other fans was really cool as well. Because we just, we all had those moments and, and he's like, oh my God, like at the same time, everybody on the whole world was like, is that Gambit? Like just in unison, because we're just like, what is happening?
Wait, Jackson, wait.
I ain't saying nothing.
Your face gave it away.
I was breathing. I ain't saying nothing.
It just
short of breath just then.
I ain't saying nothing.
It was just enjoyable to watch as somebody that's been there from the beginning. And then I also if you were just going to just watch a movie, it was a good watch, right? Like you were just going to enjoy it. The jokes still get there. Of course, for some of us, there's deeper Easter eggs and stuff in there. But if you were just bringing somebody to just watch the movie, they could have enjoyed it as well. And I think that's always a testament to whether or not a movie's actually good.
Yeah. 100%. This would definitely be one of the few entries that, having the background knowledge of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Fox Cinematic Universe and things like that, like having all of that content in your mind, or in the back of your mind, stuff that you may have watched years and years ago and stuff like it definitely added a layer to the enjoyment. But if you only saw from what was shown, they explained enough as it was progressing for you to keep up and stay current and know what was happening. So it wasn't a movie that everybody would have to stop every 2 seconds and be like, and who is that? And who is that? And what is that? And, despite the cameos, they did a decent enough job of explaining each person's cameo. And, I probably had more of a question as to what was their event that caused them to be, hey, we got one of our mascots on the show right now.
Just so you know, the bathhouse is located
They got the back door open apparently. But yeah, I think like having that extra bit of information was a plus, but the movie did a good enough job explaining everything you needed to know while watching, which, as we've discussed in depth on many movies, you know, if you don't show me and if I have to connect the dots, you're missing something. You're not doing something right. And this movie connected all of the dots on screen for you, and all you had to do was just follow along, because there were characters, and this goes right into some of the things I liked. Um, I really hoped going into this movie that this movie would, in some shape, fashion, or form, clarify, explain, justify, or set up, if you will, how the MCU is going to incorporate all of these IPs that they've reacquired. And, you know, as I'm watching the movie, I come to realize that, you know, that was a pretty substantial universe before Deadpool came along. So this being Marvel Jesus and everything hinges on him. No, they had like a lot of stuff done before Deadpool even came along. And when the MCU came, you know, Kevin Feige making everything connected and having a clear vision and, you know, going about it the way he did, it kind of changed the way cinematic universes are made. But, you know, to kind of, you know, to concur with what Jeff had to say, like, yeah, all my member berries started coming out, and I just kind of sat back and thought, like, you know, I really have seen every single X-Men movie. I really have seen all of the Blade movies. I've seen every Fantastic Four. I've seen every comic book movie that they have made, regardless of the studio that made it. And so being able to recognize every single cameo, being able to recognize, you know, when Taylor Maine came out of Sabretooth, it was like, you know, like it's the original Sabretooth, the original Pyro. And, you know, getting Daphne Keene to come back as X-23, just all of the cameos for me were probably one of the most nostalgic moments in cinema, because it really took a very long time, because these are movies, a lot of these movies are well before the MCU. And so like we're really going back to the beginning, to the first Blade movie, back when, you know, and Blade doesn't get the credit it deserves for showing that you could make a movie about comic book characters that people will like, and that you could do it with the violence, with the guns, with the, you know what I'm saying, with the language and stuff like that, and it still be what it needed to be. Because those comics, you know, they may not necessarily be exactly R-rated comics, but they come with that content in the comics. And so keeping everything family friendly, PG-13, ooh, you know, it's like it takes a little bit of the punch out of it sometimes. And so, you know, being able to be all gas, no brakes like this movie was, it made me nostalgic for all of those classic movies. And I got to realize, and like I said, never been just like the biggest fan of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but now I'm like, nobody, I don't know that anyone else could have brought that character back to life like Hugh Jackman did, because I'm already so used to seeing him as Wolverine. But this did feel like this wasn't Logan. This was a brand new Wolverine. And it felt like a brand new Wolverine. And I gotta give Hugh his props on that, because to me it felt a little different. Now, all Wolverines, I see the face you make it, Jeff. I kind of feel like all Wolverines are kind of the same character. So that part of it, but this did not feel like Logan. This guy could easily grow up to be Logan. You know, once he has another 50, 60 years, sure, he's going to be Logan. That healing factor is not going to work as well. That adamantium poison starts kicking in. But right now, he's still kind of the Wolverine in his prime. So for me, the nostalgia and really just, you know, taking me back to the beginning and bringing me up to the current all in one movie, that was probably what I liked the most. And I think something they did very, very well. There were a few things that raised some questions, some concerns, if you will. And I'm gonna let whoever would like to speak first on maybe what they didn't like, except Jeff, because we don't have that kind of time yet.
Nah, I mean,
No, but no, honestly, if anybody, what were some of the things that they missed the mark on?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna have to let you guys go first because the truth is that this was a pretty flawless movie for me.
oh my god,
Yeah, this is
Wow.
I got it. So this is the thing, right? I know, right? Like,
I'm about to fall out my chair.
here's the thing. I like that humor. That humor's right up my alley. I'm crass. I like it. I like offensive humor. Ryan Reynolds does exactly what I want to see in a movie with comedy. So I'm in the zone. I'm watching it. I'm like, yes, give it to me. I want all of it. So I was there for all of it. All of it hit. There were obviously some things that maybe I would say when he was around Cassandra Nova and why she didn't so quickly kill him, right? Given that, there was obviously Deadpools were a dime a dozen and she could have just gotten rid of him because he was talking slick the whole time. She obviously seemed like the type of person that doesn't like people talking crazy. So I don't understand why she just didn't do that to him. But, obviously, that suit's full of plot armor. So, good for him. But that is pretty much the only part that I was like, And I watch it. I watch everything from that super critical lens. I was looking. I was like, all right, I'm ready. My hate was sitting right there. Like, we got you, bro. What are we doing?
He just fell asleep, couldn't find nothing, huh?
Yeah, okay. I was trying, but I was
okay. Well,
I was enjoying it way too much.
Before I get into mine and we let Jeff jump into his ladies, you got anything? Anything stand out that just kind of rubbed you the wrong way? You feel like they missed the mark? While really. You all are contemplating, because I mean, and hey, look, don't feel like you don't have to find fault. If it's not there, it's not there. A lot of people are saying it was that kind of movie. I, of course, have issues, and I recognize what my issues are with the movie, and a lot of them are me issues. I'll say that 100%. They did not deliver on some of the things that they built up the hype for. Not me. This wasn't something I created in my head. Good to see Jeff loved to get on me for that. Like, it didn't meet my expectations, so I'm mad.
I haven't said a word
yet. But this was one of those things, like, he's not Marvel Jesus. Deadpool is not Marvel Jesus. And even though they kind of made a lot of comments regarding, like, oh, you're coming in at a low point in the MCU and this, that, and the other. We've talked at length how a lot of the most recent projects haven't necessarily hit the mark because they weren't designed for the target audience they were presented to. A lot of the stuff that went to streaming was supposed to be movies, and movies were supposed to be streaming, and they had to jumble the schedule, and stuff came out of order. So they had to go back and change a lot of things. They had to rewrite some things. And some of the latter stuff, and of course we just talked about it, a lot of the stuff post Endgame doesn't get the same kind of love as everything before Endgame. And with all of those movies and the cinematic universe kind of coming to a culmination in Infinity War and Endgame, once you have that moment, you've reached the peak. That's the top of the mountain. You're at the summit. Everything after that, you kind of go back down. You're working your way back down the mountain. And we've gotten to a point where now we're back in the valley. We're in the villages. The snow is gone. And we're now having to look for the next mountain to start climbing. They've presented, and as we'll discuss a little later at San Diego Comic-Con, they've gone into Doomsday, and Secret Wars is still happening. And so, now we see the next mountain we're about to start climbing. This movie, the way it was advertised, the way it was presented, was that it was somehow going to connect everything. And ultimately, it did not lean as heavily into what would be the MCU as I thought or it indicated it would have been. This Deadpool movie is now an MCU movie, but there was so very little MCU connection. And
well, the
it
TVA
worked.
is MCU.
Yeah,
The TV,
I think that was it. Yeah,
that was the only
that was it.
connection, but there was nothing that necessarily bridged the two. Now,
And
when we get
him dying in Thor's arms.
But
So
yeah,
what?
that was cute.
Him dying in Thor's arms. That'll come back. You
Yeah.
know, Kevin.
And the Chris Evans cycle.
You know, Kevin ain't shoot that scene and put that in there for it to just not mean nothing.
Oh no, I mean, and that's one of those. That's like a Chekhov's gun moment. You know what I'm saying? Like you showed something in the movie, and that part was just to like get your attention, make you watch and pay attention, and they never had to do anything with it. Now it's one of those moments where like, and of course, like again, time travel, multiverse, all of that. It starts to get a little confuddled and whatnot. As he was doing the multiverse hopping and things like that. The only connection that really came about was the fact that it doesn't matter what universe you go to, whether it be a Fox universe, a Sony universe, a Marvel universe. When that timeline is damaged or pruned or whatnot, they all go to the same void. That became evident by all of the people who were in that void. Mm-hmm. Having Cassandra Nova with the sling ring. Okay, obviously, at some point, a Doctor Strange or a Wong or someone from Cosmetal, some sorcerer came down, was in the void, and yeah, see, just like Anthony said here, throw that up.
And I think she said Strange. I think she actually mentioned it was.
Yeah, she said it was. She said it was a.
She said it was Strange.
Probably probably the one that they killed in Wanda.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been their Sorcerer Supreme. It would explain why he had maybe 2 Infinity Stones on top of the sling ring. So that sling ring by itself was already pretty powerful, and that's probably why anybody could use it. Now, Cassandra Nova seems to be
between dimensions versus the one Doctor Strange had, which you could just be on Earth.
Yeah.
Well, and even
or
with
in
that,
the universe.
Even with that. I think it's in the first Doctor Strange where they're talking about the sling rings. It says that's how they travel the multiverse. And so there's a lot of speculation as whether or not a sling ring can open the dimensions between the universes, all that kind of thing.
Spider-Man No Way Home, they open between universes. That's how Toby and Andrew Garfield come in.
Actually, let me do it. So actually, when Doctor Strange cast the spell, the same way the little rips and tears that you saw from the spell being cast, that was how all the villains got pulled over. That was also how the other Spider-Man got pulled over. The sling ring just brought them to where Ned was. So when he actually asked, take me to Spider-Man, he didn't necessarily cross dimensions there. They were already in the new dimension.
I'm gonna push back on that because when they come through the sling ring, they're not coming through like, oh my God, I have been on an Earth that I don't recognize for a week and I don't know where I am. They walk through like Tobey Maguire literally walks through like, hey, what's up? What am I doing?
Well, like I was at the crib and
like so I didn't necessarily read it that way, but I understand that interpretation of it.
And I mean, here's
unclear.
The thing. I'm going to assume that if a sling ring has infinity gems attached to it, it's powered up. So maybe that, but then again, technically, the way the infinity stones work is they're only supposed to work in their universe. So
well,
I don't,
the infinity stones that we saw only work in that universe.
Well, remember in the first Loki, right, true.
But there might be some that it's an infinity.
See, I don't want to have to do all that, man. That's when I zone out.
Triple
man.
infinity.
But admittedly, that's kind of what I'm referring to when I say something
Twinfinity.
that missed the mark as far as bringing this movie into the MCU, because it never really explains how Wade even knew that he wanted to be an Avenger. How did he know about the 616? How was he in that universe to even be talking with Happy to try to interview? And then when that didn't work out, he just hopped back over to his own universe. A lot of that was just
that though. Did you really need that though?
That is exactly what I was gonna say.
I think that because I came in blind. I think that because I came in blind, I don't think it's a flawless movie, but I have to watch it again to find fault because I came in blind. So I was just able to just enjoy the movie for what it was. And so I think because you watch the previews, there was these expectations. It's easy to find fault because you had expectations. I had none. And so, I like to find fault with the movie. So I think I have to watch it again to really be like, like the fighting scene in the van, like that seemed a little long to me. Like I could get into that kind of stuff, but I didn't.
We ain't have to do all of bye bye. We ain't have to do all of bye bye bye.
Yes, we did. That was my favorite part.
Yes,
that was my absolute favorite part of the whole movie, the whole song.
Well, it
could
have been more fighting and less dancing.
The exact choreography.
In my
choreography.
Yes, the whole choreography. Yes. And let me just throw in there before Sam gets started again. Whereas Denisha says that she went in blind, she didn't see any of the trailers. I did see trailers. I saw the first two. I did not see the last one that apparently spoiled the fact that X-23 was going to be in the movie, but I did see the first two. I watched them. It made me hype for the movie. I did not pull a Sam and try to figure out the whole movie from the trailers. It just got me hyped, and I was ready to go to the movie and watch the movie.
Yeah, see, I learned, that's the thing. I learned with the MCU and with these movies, I have to take off my I read the comics hat, that I know the lore hat. I have to dispel that and let go of that and accept that they're going to break the rules. They're going to come up with their own reasoning behind these things. I mean, yes, that's a bit of a inconsistent writing thing, right? Like, okay, you does it do that? But is it that much of a leap for me to believe that it can take you between universes? Maybe. You know what I'm saying?
But I think we also have a responsibility as an avid movie watcher to remember, even with the trailers, they don't owe us that. We've seen it happen. We see stuff in the trailer. We go to the movie. Yeah. Where the hell was it? It's not there. And so
no Hulk running in Wakanda.
Have that.
And I would say, even as in the space that we're in as content creators, like a large portion of our industry is trying to figure out the movie before it comes out. Whoa, I saw this in the trailer, so that means XYZ. Like, so now to the point where Marvel has like airtight NDAs. I know, I've signed them. Like, their stuff does not get out, and unless they want you to like know it. Like a lot of the cameos that were in the movie, I only watched the first preview just to be like, all right, I watched it and to talk about it on Grown A Geeks. But I don't watch anything beyond the first preview if I can help it, because I didn't want anything spoiled. All the cameos were, except for X-23, because I saw like on Twitter she was like at the premiere. All the other cameos were not spoiled for me, and most of them were amazing. I'll get when I go into most of them were amazing to me. And I was glad that the freshness, the feeling of seeing Blade slow motion walk onto the screen when I never thought I would see Wesley Snipes as Blade again took me back to being in my grandmother's living room watching the Blade VHS that we ordered off Columbia House Videos. Like it was like
for a pity,
right? It's like a real thing. So I think that it's important to look at, like with the trailers. Part of it is misdirection now, because they don't need Comic Man YouTube 57 being like 55 plot points that are going to be in the next Blade movie because I've done all the cross-referencing between the comic books and the trailer. Like the trailer's 3 minutes. People have been putting stuff in trailers that's not in the movie for years before the MCU. I'm sorry that they tricked you and showed you Hulk running in Wakanda when it was really him in the Hulkbuster armor. Get over it. It was still a good movie. There's no reason to be like mad about it. But if there was not such a gotcha-ness to the fandom of here's on-set photos. We saw so-and-so at the set today. This person's wearing this costume. They look terrible. And then it comes in the movie and it's good, and then you don't apologize for talking shit about this black woman who's playing Starfire because you saw some shitty iPhone pictures from across the street that weren't color graded. You know what I mean? Like there is an excitement, and I recognize obviously they make a trailer so that people can get excited for the movie. They do not make a trailer for you to dissect and predict the whole plot of the movie. Like that is honestly one of the biggest pet peeves about this space that I have. Not this space, Grown A Geeks, because we don't do a lot of that, but like just the space in general. Like when I try to find videos, it's so much 55 Easter eggs based on a 30-second clip, and it's like, how the fuck you? That's more than one Easter egg per second. What are we doing? You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, you got to just let the art be the art and judge the art for what it is and not what it should have been. And I'm not saying that at you, Sam, particularly. You've been working on this. We've had many of these conversations, and we're getting better.
Deadpool, and this is going to be very clear. This Deadpool and Wolverine story isn't based on a damn thing except what the writers created.
Right.
So there was nothing for me to say, oh, they didn't do that like that in the comic. So none of that came from me doing that. And because of that, it wasn't as though I could sit in this movie and with any sense of accuracy predict, outside of like your standard movie trope or cliche moment and things like that. You know what I'm saying? That type of stuff, it's just the way stories are written. So that's going to be what it's going to be. But what I was looking for, or what I was hoping to find, and that's why I want to be clear. And I said before I spoke, this was a me thing, that it wasn't a fault of the movie, and it was just something that the way they presented because the whole thing, like Marvel Jesus, and a lot of this came from just the talking heads and a lot of the conversation points that came up in now that Deadpool is in the MCU, now that Deadpool is a Disney property, like now that this is coming over, we now know that we're going to have canonically X-Men in the MCU. We know that canonically Deadpool is in the MCU. Bringing in all of these other Fox characters in an MCU movie canonizes all of those movies, all of those things. And because it took place during a multiverse story, it's fine. They can still be their own thing in their own universes and be a part of the larger MCU umbrella because it's multiverse. Easiest, simple, and it's not even to say that that's lazy writing to do it. No, it's about the only way you can do it. So I have no problem with that. What I was hoping for, an educated wish, if you will. What I was hoping for was that there would be something definitive. Cassandra Nova would have completed her plan to destroy said universe. Everybody's now trapped in the void, or the void has an open pathway to 616. That is all I'm saying. Clearly, I've just glossed right over the fact that Wade Wilson was applying to be an Avenger in the 616 with Happy Hogan taking place just like everything was doing. Didn't make it, went back and decided to sell cars for a couple years. You know what? We're not going to examine that too close because that's just a plot point to move the story along. When he jumped over to dig up and exhume Logan's adamantium skeleton and was having a whole conversation with it, like all of that worked exactly like it needed to. And that was, again, timeline hopping, so to speak. And it made sense for the TVA to be involved or keep an eye on him the same way they kept an eye on Loki, the same way they went to say, hey, you did this thing, and that essentially broke the canon of that universe, and that caused that new timeline to be created. Well, since now, at the end of Loki, all new created timelines get to continue existing. Free will is a thing, and they're just going to let the timelines continue. I was just trying to understand, and by all means, please, someone make it make sense for me. I was just trying to see, how do we get to 616 coming from this Fox universe? Because everything that took place, as much as I love this movie, everything that took place is still Fox universe. It may not have been answered in this movie, and that is okay.
But he did, though. He did. So the point of the movie is for him to save his universe. Him going to 616 was just his way of, remember, there's the whole backstory with his girlfriend telling him, oh, you need to do something that matters. You need to do something that matters. Right. So his motivation for going to the Avengers was, oh, I need to do something that matters. I want to be, I'm right. So you go there, that falls through, and now you're lost. Because now you go back to your universe, and now you're lost because you wanted the thing that you thought that mattered, which was joining the Avengers, couldn't happen. So now you're back in, Earth 187, whatever it was, 10,087, and you're selling cars and you're doing all of that. That's the bridge right there. Like, the point is, we're not in the Disney MCU 616 universe, right? We're in his universe. That's where the bulk of the story is taking place. That's the point of the story. So that, to me, is how that bridge. I don't expect it to, like, it's a bait and switch. I bait you. Marvel Jesus. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Let's make it.
Wait. I just want to make sure it's a bait and switch. So they said it was going to be one thing and then it was something different?
No.
Right. No. Not that they said it was going to be something different.
I just want to make sure.
Right.
No, that's not
bad use of terms. Not bad use. I'm not.
Deadpool said, "I'm Marvel Jesus." Deadpool is a fucking liar.
There you go.
You believe Deadpool, so that's on
exactly
you. Not on the right.
You
forgot who was saying it.
And again, this is right. Like, he glorified himself. He glorified himself, and he says, "I'm
making an educated wish."
Right.
About who he was going to be in the MCU.
Well, we still didn't find out from the TVA why he is important, right? He was like,
no,
we heard
he has not yet.
But he's not important.
The people are saying we don't know why, and so.
Well, we found out why he was important, because he saved his universe. So the way I look at it is this: they've introduced now we've introduced certain concepts in the MCU. First of all, the MCU is no longer just Earth 616, right? We've had numerous understandings that in this MCU there is a multiverse. So we have the TVA, we have the Void, we have the end of the Marvels, where we have
Tiamat,
where she goes through the dimensions, and now she with the X-Men.
Right.
Super fine black lady.
Yeah.
Tiana Paris. I just know her real name.
You know her real name.
Rambo.
Mama name is Tiana. I'm gonna call her Tiana. So we got that. We've got Spider-Man. We've seen all three Spider-Mans on the same movie. We've seen Vince. So we have seen now that the MCU has expanded from a singular universe to a multiverse. So technically, all of this shit is MCU now, which is what you're saying. It's established. We've established all of these things as canon through various movies and shows up until this point.
Correct.
Now, when we talk about Deadpool being Marvel Jesus, that's something he said. And in the movie, the guy was like, that's not what I'm saying. Now we've also
Right.
introduced types of beings. We've introduced the concept of the Nexus being with Wanda, and we know, comic book lovers know there's other ones, but she's the one that has introduced that concept. Now we've introduced the concept of the anchor being, which means in every one of these universes, there is one character or one person to where if that person dies, that universe is no more, which makes sense because the Fox universe basically was like, if it ain't Wolverine, we don't care. Days of Future Past, get out of here, Kitty Pryde. We gonna send Logan back in time. You know what I mean? Unless it was Deadpool, he the only one who got to do some fun shit and not have Wolverine looking over his shoulder. And even then, he even X-Men, days, what's the Apocalypse one? We have to have the Weapon X cameo in First Class. They go meet him at the bar and he says fuck off and he doesn't join the team. Like, he literally is and has been the anchor being for that universe. So when you kill him in Logan,
right,
who gives a fuck about this universe anymore? Nobody. So now Deadpool is the anchor being of that universe because he is the one who saved it by going to get the other Wolverine and doing all the actions and all that stuff to stop Cassandra Nova. And the lady says at the end, when she stops like ogling over this mediocre looking pudgy white man, she's like, whatever you did here, it's regenerated your timeline and it's not slowly deteriorating anymore. So we've introduced the concept of the anchor being, and in that universe, it's Deadpool. Marvel is not converging all of the multiverses into one yet. But we'll talk about Doctor Doom a little bit later. I think some of us comic book fans know a storyline that kind of coincides with that coincides with the idea of a convergence and Doctor Doom that would make a lot of sense. It just ain't gonna happen right now because we need probably about 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 more movies for it to all make sense. Not before Doctor Doom comes in. I just mean before we start getting X-Men versus Avengers, which is what everybody's really waiting on right now, right? Like Doctor Doom, yeah, he gonna be our big bad, but people are still waiting on X-Men and Avengers to share the screen with one another. And Kevin Feige is like, we know that's what you want, but we have to give it to you in a way that makes sense because there are 5 billion YouTube channels out there waiting to make a video about how we fucked this all up again. So if we don't do it right, y'all gonna be mad. But if we don't do it right away, y'all gonna be impatient and be upset. So if you got to pick one of doing it fast or doing it right, I'm always gonna pick doing it right, baby.
Absolutely. I have no problem with doing it right. And the anchor being concept I thought that was a nice way to do the same thing differently.
Because I think what we're going to have to look at now is as we go to these different universes, who are these anchor beings that are going to allow us to, when we have the incursions, who survives, right?
Right.
Because that's going to be the ones who gets left over and gets mashed up into this big singular MCU world that we all want to see, where we got Fantastic Four and we got Hulk and we got, X-Men and Avengers and Deadpool and Blade and all these different people. Like, we got to get there though. You know what I'm saying?
Which they could resolve with Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Right? It's a good excuse to bring them all together in a singular movie.
Yeah. Secret Wars. That'll be the end game of that.
For sure.
Arc. That'll be where it does.
Can I talk about what I'm mad about? I've held my tongue.
Oh yeah.
Far too long.
So Jeffrey, where do you think Deadpool and Wolverine missed the mark, sir?
For the most part, this was a great movie. I give this movie an A. I enjoyed, I would say, most of the cameos, but there were 2 that really rubbed me the wrong way for different reasons.
Okay.
The first one, not as attached to, but a little while ago, we had a conversation about Henry Cavill joining the MCU.
Right.
And I made the suggestion that he would be a great Cyclops. I think a lot of people agree with that. in my opinion, using Henry Cavill as a like throwaway joke Wolverine variant was just disappointing. It didn't make me mad, but it was disappointing because it's like, all right, well, he's a good actor and he would make a good superhero for a studio that actually cared about how to use characters. And unfortunately, he got saddled with Zack Snyder and it didn't go well. And I was really hoping he would be able to come into the MCU and be someone and not just like a throwaway cameo in a montage for a laugh. That's just me and my personal wants not being satisfied. I recognize that, but it is what it is. He could come back in another universe as Cyclops and do all that other stuff too. I get that, but it's almost like I've already seen it, and it wasn't what I wanted in that point. So
You sound
do
like
I
a
even
fan.
want you to spin the block? I know, and I recognize that, and I'm fully admitting that this is straight from the school of Sam right there. Was something I wanted,
Not the
didn't
school of
happen,
I will,
and it
I will absolutely
made
say
me
it
upset.
was a wasted cameo. I'm with
I
Agreed.
you.
don't agree.
It was
Yeah.
no, it was a good cameo. It
It's
was
a great
cool to
cameo.
see, but it
And
had
it
the
was
It
same.
was
the
just
little,
it was a cameo just to take a shot at DC,
yes.
which you've
Yes.
already done as Deadpool when you blew Ryan Reynolds' head open when he was reading the Green Lantern script in Deadpool 2. So like,
We as Marvel fans, Marvel stands, should enjoy taking as many shots at DC as we can. And I didn't
but
see it
I'm a
as a throwaway cameo. I just thought that, sorry, Sam, I just thought, it's a multiverse
It
thing.
is not
So,
the
I
smoke
mean,
you think
why
it is.
couldn't it? We saw a couple different people as Wolverine, so why can't he come back as somebody else? And then, of course, they'd have to throw in somebody walks in and say, hey, you look familiar, something
but it's
like
also
that.
like we've had so much like turmoil over who is going to be the next Wolverine, right? Like that has been a major conversation. That's why they keep
Right.
bringing Hugh. Even in the movie, they're like, "You're gonna have to play. You have to play Wolverine to your
So you're
90
90.
because nobody wants to see anybody else do it." And then the first time we see somebody do it, it's like
It
a
wasn't as
throwaway
good.
joke to me. And that one didn't land as well as all the other Wolverine variants that were actually Hugh
Okay.
Jackman. The little short one when he hopped off the stool.
Right.
Obviously,
Comic
the
accurate.
X.
That
Yeah,
was
like,
my favorite Wolverine variant right there.
but it's like, damn, bro, you did all this to take a shot at a universe that's already dead. Like, they making a whole new Superman and all that other stuff, and it's like, if that's his introduction and he comes back and plays somebody different, cool. If this leads to him playing Wolverine moving forward, I will not like that.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah, I
just a
don't-
I'll go
nod
on the
to
record and
jokes
say that.
about him playing Wolverine. I didn't think.
Yeah.
I just thought it was just a nod to
I
the
hope
fact
so.
that it even been discussed that he could possibly do it and how absurd that is. Because
You know how
Yeah.
fans be. They'd be like, here's a petition. Bring Henry Cavill
No one
Reed
wants to
back
see
to
that.
the
Signatures
screen.
to have the Calverine.
And I just think it's because everybody loves fucking Henry Cavill.
Right.
Henry Cavill is a superhero. That dude was
Okay, so
born
let's give him a
to play
real role.
superheroes.
Right.
No, but right. But the point is
But
that
in
this is Deadpool.
Right.
Deadpool loves making a parody of the fact that everybody loves Henry Cavill. So
And that's why he get
here's
on my
Henry
nerves.
Cavill. Here's Henry Cavill,
Fucking
folks.
Deadpool.
Here's your 5 seconds of Henry Cavill, and we're out. And that's it. We could get him as a Cyclops. We could get him as anything. So
for a
now,
while
what was the
there-
second? Hold on. What was? Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, I know he's got a second, but since we're talking about Cavill, let me just throw this a little bit in there. When we saw Multiverse of Madness, there was a lot of people who were looking at who the new casting for the Fantastic Four was going to be. And although I know not everybody was on board, a lot of people liked the idea of having Jim from The Office be Mr. Fantastic. And when we saw Multiverse of Madness, I mean, a fourth wall break in a Deadpool movie with him would have been the perfect time to do it, but they chose to do Multiverse of Madness. But when we saw all of the variants, so to speak, online right there in Multiverse of Madness, and we had Captain Carter was up there, and we had like the original Professor X, he was back, and we had Mr. Fantastic right there. Having those people up there, the kind of impact, because everybody had already discussed and talked about having that actor play that part, seeing him in Multiverse of Madness was a way to satiate that desire for it and not have to commit to it. That was the exact same effect I got seeing Henry Cavill as Wolverine. We can say we did it, but we don't have to commit to that. And for me personally, regardless of the shot at DC and that kind of thing, because literally what Deadpool says is the direct shot, and it was funny as hell, and I get it. Seeing Henry Cavill as Wolverine, I was not sold on Henry Cavill as Wolverine, and that was why it was it was a wasted cameo for me.
Mhm.
Just because I'm not gonna watch
go
the
ahead.
next movie and see him as Wolverine and be like, oh, that's a great casting. It's the same problem we've had when Hugh Jackman did it. That motherfucker too big to be Wolverine. And that's where the problem comes in. And because we've gotten so accustomed to seeing Hugh Jackman, it's going to be really hard. If they really wanted to make some people happy, definitely this would have been the one I would have voted for if they were taking votes and it mattered. That's where you should have had Daniel Radcliffe. That's where you should have had Harry Potter come in. The kid has gotten he's gotten extremely buff. He's already got the gruffy look and whatnot. He's got a bit of an accent, so he could make it Canadian and whatnot. And that would have been.
But if I'm Henry Radcliffe, well, not Henry, Daniel Radcliffe, and I actually want to play Wolverine, I'm not doing that cameo. You're not about to John Krasinski me, like just wasted on a cameo, and now people are talking about, I don't like it, and now I'm out of there. And you're gonna see me in X-Men, whatever. MCU make the first time.
To convince people of a role that significant, it has to be a full film to get people on board. You can't do that in a cameo, not with that kind of character. Maybe Mr. Fantastic, but not Logan, not Wolverine.
And I would say too, the bigger shot at DC would be having Henry Cavill come to the MCU and play their big blue Boy Scout character of Cyclops versus a throwaway like cameo. All right, my second one.
That's it, because we can keep going on. What else did you have? We'll talk about this other cameo. In the Void, there were some amazing cameos, and I really enjoyed them. You know, Ryan Reynolds is pretty Deadpool or whatever that was funny to me. Seeing Elektra again,
nice pool
was great. I forgot all about Elektra, and
I love the comment about Daredevil right there. No, he's fine. It's okay.
Yeah. And so
joke, that was hilarious.
Yeah. Like that's a shot. Right. Like I felt that. I was like, oof. Oof. But you know, since I was about 5 or 6 years old, there's been a comic book character that I have loved. I have him tattooed on my arm. I have action figures. I've drawn him countless times. And I have been waiting for this character to be properly depicted,
represented
for quite some time. X-Men 97 came, gave my boy a lot of love, then snuffed him out in the prime of his life, breaking my heart. And for years, there's been a certain actor who is famous for gyrating and dancing and not really doing much acting or character work in his roles.
Don't you talk about him like that.
That has been clamoring and pushing to bring this character to life. The projects, thankfully for me, never went anywhere because I never thought that Channing Tatum was a good choice to play Gambit. Like, that is a character that requires, first of all, acting chops, subtlety, things that I have never seen Channing Tatum embody on the screen.
Wow.
I understand that Channing Tatum as Gambit in this film was a joke. But the difference between him and the others were the jokes around Blade and the jokes around Elektra and X-23 and all the other characters work because we have an established relationship with those characters on screen. We have multiple movies or shows or whatever where we've seen these characters come through. So when you make a joke, it is a joke that is playing off of an established characteristic that we have already seen.
Right.
When I saw the card and the stick come in, I was like, this better not be Taylor Lautner. And then when I saw Channing Tatum, I said, I wish it was Taylor Lautner. He looked like he had to be literally injected into the costume.
Yeah,
because
look,
whatever the little headpiece thing, he looked stiff,
like
he looked uncomfortable. The hair was wrong.
Gambit's hair bacon
is coiffed up, not slicked to the side. And that is because of the fact that his whole power is about drawing the energy. He don't use no mousse. That's just him, baby. That's all Gambit. That's all by you, baby. And you got this thing slicked down to the side like a schoolboy going to Bel Air Prep on the first day.
With extra syrup.
The only thing I liked was that Deadpool was giving him shit about the accent. Because to be honest with you, that probably is what he would have sounded like playing Gambit. I know he probably gonna be like, yeah, I played up the mumble mouth for the. No, that's what you was gonna do.
But at least the first joke was about him not really, like, people not knowing who he was because he never got his shot to have his movie. So that joke was in there.
But he shouldn't have got this shot either.
I wanted Taylor. I wanted Taylor. I actually wanted Taylor because I felt he was a good Gambit.
I think Taylor.
Taylor Kitsch, by the way.
Taylor Kitsch.
My bad. Yeah. Taylor Kitsch. My bad. Okay. Taylor somebody. I would have preferred Taylor Lautner, Taylor Kitsch, Taylor
Swift.
Whoever. Taylor Swift. Whoever. I would have preferred anybody other than seeing Channing Tatum just mumble mouth his way through that performance. And it's only because he is such a beloved character and they have not found a way to like show him the same respect that I feel like they've shown the other X-Men characters, even characters who are like lesser known and lesser liked than him. And him and Rogue, in my opinion, are the two characters that in the live action have been the most misrepresented and disrespected. And those are my two favorite X-Men. And I just would like to get to a place. I would just like to get to a place where we get a real Gambit. Like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. And to me, it's like this looks like the fan mock-ups, which is the reason why I never got on board with him. Like, bro, Channing Tatum, you look in the mirror, bro. You don't look like Gambit. You don't feel like Gambit. You don't got the
no growth. Where's the shadow? The 5 o'clock.
Where's the 5 o'clock shadow? Where's the black and red eyes?
Yeah.
He looked like they cut his face off. He looked like RoboCop without the helmet.
Yes.
So for me, that one just, that was the first time I ever been on Deadpool's side roasting somebody. Sometimes I'm like, all right, bro, like let's get back to the action. I'm like, no, every time this dude open his mouth, say something. Roast this dude. Hugh, drink all this motherfucking liquor up. I don't care. Even the fighting, he looks like he just. It just was not the right fit, and this is the only thing about the Deadpool thing where Ryan Reynolds has a lot of control and a lot of say, justifiably so. But sometimes I'm just like, bruh, not him. That's your homeboy. Y'all know y'all kick it. Yeah, you let him have his dream of finally being able to play Gambit. And guess what? Like, he was just as shitty as I imagined he would always be. Thank you for that. So we don't have to worry about seeing this motherfucker ever play Gambit ever again in life, unless it's a joke, because it is a joke. And sometimes you just got to be honest with people when you really care about them. I'm not gonna go see it, but go make a Magic Mike 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Gyrate till your pelvis break, but stay away from Gambit.
Yes, do that. I agree with Jeff. Do that, please.
It ain't for me. It ain't for me, but
there you go.
More people want to see you do that than they do want to see you play Gambit.
I'm pretty sure that dude has a fake
step
hip
down
now,
from myself.
Now, I'm gonna say, as far as I agree with, as much as this was your favorite character, you need to be in charge of production, maybe costume design, but you are not the actor for the role. Help cast it if you truly love it. Love it enough to recognize that is not what needs to happen on screen. Love it that much. And if you can do that, then I'm all for it. Let's make a Gambit movie. I will say, though, I have to disagree. I think watching the fight sequence, I like can 100% accept, believe, and now expect to see live action Gambit moving forward, because that was a much better display of the powers than what we got in X-Men Origins when Taylor Kitsch did jump.
Whoa, really?
Yes.
The car go boom.
Taylor Kitsch was garbage.
When Taylor Kitsch jumped off, when he
almost walked out,
slammed his stick down and everything around, like we had the slow motion effect, and it was like,
no.
This motherfucker was in Now You See Me Part 2. He wasn't playing Gambit.
Like, you see, he did
cars flying all around him. The hell is this?
And with this, like, he did the shuffle, and then he just like through car, and then he stopped, and all the cars boom, 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 boom. I was like, okay, like they really took time to get the power set right. The look, trash. The attacks and the moves.
The costume was good.
Right. I mean,
the feeling of the costume.
But see, that's the thing. These are stupid. When Deadpool got his MCU costume, and I made it a point to like go back and like just revisit this moment, remembering what his costume looked like in the movie after he got his MCU upgrade costume. Went back and watched Deadpool 1 and watched Deadpool 2. And Blind Al was like, you know what? If you haven't used baking soda to get out blood, or just wear red, and then looking at the red costume he had and whatnot. And then, because before it was basically just like a leather costume. His MCU duds, that was clearly the upgrade. He now has the new belt buckle and the whole set. So having his MCU, I need Gambit's character to go to the same tailor and hopefully not get felt up the same way. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
I thought the car go boom. Yeah, baby, drinking nigga, baby.
Right, and it was literally like, who is your dialect coach? Minions? Like, it really was like a lot of mumble mouth happening, so much mouth. So yeah, I can say that, you know what, I am happy that he got to fulfill, he got his wish. Hopefully it's out of his system and he can move on with the rest of his life. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I just saw that in the theater and I thought to myself, Jeff is gonna have a field day. I needed him to do so much better.
This is me being calm and measured in how I feel about it.
Right.
I have never crossed my arms so fast in my life in a movie.
See, this is you having time to react, process, and truly articulate what was wrong.
I was like, where is the big purple smoke dragon? Come get this dude. Him.
Now,
the one with the glowing stick.
Here's a question for the cameos, and this is just a fun, just because what do you think it was in each of those universes that these people, and maybe this was just something I missed in the excitement of the story, but with Deadpool, he's in the void because he got pruned by Paradox. Wolverine got pruned by Paradox. That's how they ended up in the void. At what point do you think the other cameo characters, X-23, Gambit, Blade, Elektra, what do you think they did, or like what got them sent to the void?
Well, I thought we discussed that it was because their universes ended.
Yeah, and they wouldn't go along to get along. You know, maybe Blade wasn't supposed to kill Dracula, you know.
Okay. See, that's what I'm looking for. Like, what was their?
So, yeah.
You know, what do you think their thing was? Was it Elektra?
Paradox's whole thing was like, your universe is ending, so I'ma just speed it up. And it seemed like he was pulling people in who were like strong warriors that the TVA could probably use. And those people all were just like, the fuck you mean? I'm good. And then so you go, same reason he sent Deadpool. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, okay, you don't want to help me? Cool. I have to get you out of the way so I can still do what I want to do, which is to humanely end your world instead of just watching it slowly crumble, because I'm not waiting like thousands of years for this to like slowly fall apart. So I feel like he probably brought X-23 first, and she was like, hell no. And then pulled it, because they technically are from the same universe. Yeah. Pulling X-23.
The question I need answered is, with Paradox, who was the higher ups? Because at one point, you know, Deadpool's like, they don't even know what you're doing, but they had to have known something because somebody somewhere said to get him. Where did that come from? Who are those people?
Well, B-15 said it was his division. The black lady, B-15, she said that was his division. Like I guess they monitor certain areas, or maybe they monitor certain. You have a certain number of multiverses that you have, or certain universes. Yeah, you know, like, okay, you keep an eye on these, and you keep an eye on these, and things like that. So that's what I got from her comment about him when they started discovering, hey, something's out of whack over here.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, that's Paradox's area.
Yeah, but everybody has a boss, and he's like, they said you were special, so that's why we're going to kind of pluck you from your world, put you somewhere else. Who's they?
I think that was all a lie.
Who did?
I think that was all a lie.
That was just part of the
I think
lie.
he was just looking for people who would be able to help him. Because I look at it like this. All right, if there's a world that's dying and I have a thing where I have to still go in and like purge stuff and stop stuff from happening, I'm gonna be like, okay, let me see if I can pull at least a couple of these like badasses from this world to come and help me do what I got to do. But I think once he got to the point where he's like, not only I'm not just gonna let it die, I'm actually actively like ending the world, then it's like everybody's like, nah, I'm not with that. I'm literally a superhero, bro. Like my whole job description is to stop people from like ending the world.
Who's doing shit like that?
So why get I guess because he's like an anti-hero. But I'm like, there's plenty of villains you could have found in that timeline. But I'm getting off.
Yeah, but you can't control villains though. That's why the Legion of Doom and all the Injustice League and all them people always end up crumbling because they start fighting each other.
Yep.
Not the Legion of Doom. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. So
Cargo boom.
We got the things they did right. We've covered some of the places they missed the mark. Ladies, did either of you have anything for missing the mark that we didn't cover? RG, anything else you didn't see, or something else they might have missed the mark on? Because I know you said it was almost a perfect movie. You ain't got no complaints, so we'll move on.
I'm gonna have to watch it again.
That was CGI. I ain't like that. It was too much.
There is one thing. It's old Blade. It's old ass Blade. That did bother me a little bit. I hate when they have characters who technically should not age, and then they age. It's like, why is Blade old?
Because he's in the void.
I'm pretty
Ain't
sure
no vampires
that
in the void.
no, I'm pretty sure that's one of those things that came down to Wesley Snipes. Saying, you're not finna AI generate me to be younger. This is how I am. Take it or leave it, and you get what you get.
Yeah, he
that was absolutely
yeah.
That was absolutely a Wesley thing.
I'm pretty sure they could have put some more makeup on him or something like that. Gave him a BBL or something like that in the face. Drake got one, right? Drake, so give him some shots.
BBL Blazy.
There you go.
I think it would have worked the same. Okay, so we're looking forward for the MCU. This is normally the part that I enjoy the most. It's the speculation section. But in this case, it's so far off that I really don't have anything to speculate. When I went to go see this movie, I was hoping that it would, bridge the gap a little bit better. The only thing that I got from this as far as the future of the MCU is no matter what universe you come from, you all end up in the same void. And so the easiest way to get all of the characters together is to just go through the void. The same way the Avengers went through the quantum zone to time travel, that was how they jumped in between the different universes to get all the different Infinity Stones at different points in times. They technically just time traveled as opposed to actually, hopping universes. But the multiverse, it doesn't matter which multiverse, which universe you're in. When you get pruned, you go to the same void. So at some point, it seems very easy that if you needed to get from one multiverse to another multiverse, you go to the void, and then from the void, you could go anywhere you wanted to go. So if you didn't have the capability to go directly from, say, 616 to 10007, you could go from 616 to the void, and then from the void to 1007. So that was what I did get from that. So I think that we're going to see more of the void and that wasteland, that area being utilized in some of the future projects. As I see, that's the only way, because it is a place that's already outside of time, outside of space. So if you need to take, say, I don't know, hypothetically, someone from the 60s, Fantastic Four, First Steps, you need to get somebody from the 60s to correspond to someone in another multiverse at another point in time. If they just swing by the void and head over, it seems very clear that you could do it. That was the only real MCU, the way the TVA operated within. That was what I got from so much of the movie taking place in the void. Was from the void you could go anywhere. And that is a better segue point. Yeah, that's a universal, Grand Central, every train departs from here. And that was something that I don't think had been explored, discussed, talked about, or even thought about prior to this movie. But here you have all these Fox characters. Johnny Storm thought it was Captain America. Nice little switch, and I was like, that was a good switcheroo right there, because the way they presented that in the showing, not in trailers, but just in the movie, they were like, "Oh, it's going to be Captain America." Oh, wait, that's right, he was Johnny Storm. Okay, you know what? That is absolutely right. So I guess you could have a character play two different people, and it'd be okay. Unless anybody wants to discuss the future of multiverse, I'm good. We could do quick score, and then we could talk.
Oh no, I got something to say.
Oh, what you got?
Because so obviously we're getting RDJ as Dr. Doom.
How you gonna stop me segueing and then segue into my section?
Oh, it's a multiverse.
He did this last time.
I don't know why.
Before you tell them to like and subscribe.
Right. I'm like,
subscribe.
Okay, well, we thank you for watching our videos. Pulled up the QR code. Make sure. Wait. I just want to tell everybody. Bro, stop stealing my thunder. The segue is my.
This is possibly why we need some outlines on
All
this
right,
one.
so go ahead.
So
So you segueing. What was you
Okay.
saying about RDJ? Let's get
I'm
into
no
this
because
San Diego
no, I'm not gonna go into RDJ. I'm gonna go into what I think is a possible way, or at least what I would like to see for the future of the MCU, right? So now you have to have a new basis, right? And I don't feel like the Avengers is the way to go. I feel like you screwed that up. You need to give us some time to sort of get the Avengers out of our head for a little bit. And I think the Fantastic Four is a perfect way to do it. I think it's still possible to use John Krasinski as a Reed Richards, just because we could have the whole what did they call it, the coalition of Reeds.
Oh, the Council of Reeds.
The Council of Reeds, right? So there's he can always come back, and it would make sense to me. Obviously, if you can put RDJ as Doom, then you can you got to have a Fantastic Four. I mean,
well, Pedro Pascal's already been cast as Reed Richards. So
oh, that's right. That
is our Reed Richards movie.
So we got Reed, we got them. So we got
and
an opener. We got an opener there.
Krasinski's already spaghettified. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Wrap for him.
So we have an opening there for Fantastic Four and Doom, which may give a good opening for maybe the Beyonder, right? For all of this stuff that's happening between, you keep opening up gaps and opening up gaps and opening up gaps here. You're opening up multiverses, you're opening up worlds, you're doing all of this. So, hey, we're going to slip this whole Beyonder thing in there. Can you stretch the Beyonder out over multiple movies? Yeah. You can slip him in over multiple movies to get to Secret Wars, right? And it allows you, Fantastic Four can be that bridge between other characters and other, maybe starting to get the X-Men in, right? And because what I would like to see is a couple of solo X-Men movies. There would be a couple of, I would like a Storm movie. I would like a Rogue movie. I'd like a Gambit movie. I'd like an origin story of a few X-Men characters. And then boom, we get an X-Men team up. The same way they did Avengers. I mean, I'm cool. You want to wash, rinse, repeat? I'm cool with that. If you do it right. And then bridge that into Secret Wars, while maybe you slip in, every now and then figure out how the Marvels can sort of get back with Thor or something like that, because you got to kind of redeem Thor and hurry up and use him in some kind of way, or
you've already. So well,
I'm just saying there's the possibility for it. I would like to see it, like either Thor or a Hulk, somebody like that. That you go back to an Avengers, sort of a metahuman versus an X-Men, right? The Avengers always represented a non-mutant person, so you got to find a way to bridge the mutants and the non-mutants. And so that's what I don't how they do it. I don't know.
It's ideal for the fan in me, just to let's get as much content as we can and make it all good. Like I'm with you there. I think I won't say the reality of it, because I don't work at Marvel, so I can't say what they will or won't do. But I feel like a character like the Beyonder, they not even close to trying to do nothing like that yet. And I think as a concept, bringing somebody like the Beyonder is...
Well, they have a Celestial. They introduced the Celestial.
But they're not doing another Eternals movie. So they're obviously moving away from that whole aspect of these stories. Now, in this next movie, again, if the trailers are to be believed, in Captain America Brave New World, the Celestial that's in the oceans finally going to be addressed in the MCU. And it basically seems like it's going to be an arms race, for lack of a better phrase. The Celestials comprised of adamantium, and of course, people now know what the hell adamantium can do, and everybody wants to get their hands on it. So that's kind of what they're going with that. We know we still have the Thunderbolts coming. Who knows exactly what they're going to be getting into? That could make for an interesting story in and of its own, and could probably be self-contained off to the side. Getting us to Doomsday, because that is the title of the movie. And this is not saying like, oh, well, in the comics, Doomsday was about. No, just the fact that we have to talk about this character, Doomsday. They've got to address who Dr. Doom is. They can probably come in and have him a little bit more established, because for the most part, people kind of have an idea who Doom is. What they need to do is they need to show Doom is actually that kind of threat. Doing an origin story on Doom isn't necessarily the way to give us that threat level. What they need to do is they need to come in, show that he's already the sovereign ruler of Latveria. And in this case, realistically, having a place like Latveria just suddenly pop up, have him take over, and he's the ruler of Sokovia. You know what I'm saying? Baron Zemo's kind of off to the side doing something different. Maybe there's a power gap right there, or a power vacuum, and boom, he comes in, fills in, takes over Latveria. Now he's the ruler of Latveria. But at the same time, we've got to look at it given the casting, and I've gone back and rewatched that clip with the Russo brothers where they're talking. He's not Doom, he is Victor Von Doom. So the fact that he is Victor Von Doom, we have to establish this character and make this character a threat. We have to make this character be our new big bad. Based on the comics, he would have a bigger part in Secret Wars. Take Doomsday, and we don't know like what the cinematics space is between Doomsday and Secret Wars. We just know those are two movies on the docket. We know that Fantastic Four: First Steps takes place in the 60s. That's another movie on the docket. I don't think we're going to get to the end of this story in 3 movies.
Yeah, no, I hope not.
So, to your point, I do think there will be some other movies. Now that they have Hugh Jackman, is he going to stick around? I don't know if production is going to last for him to keep doing it. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was going to say was my biggest concern in terms of the future. Like, we've killed Logan in Logan, and Hugh Jackman was supposed to be done. Now we brought him back. They gave us the whole, they're going to die at the end of the movie, the ultimate sacrifice. And it's like, all right, Hugh Jackman's going to be out of here again. And now we sitting at the table eating like this the end of a Fast and the Furious movie. And you know how Fast and Furious movie, all these motherfuckers come back. You dead? Right. You thought you was dead. Welcome back. Say, pass the mashed potatoes, please, Han. Right. Pass the corn, Gal Gadot, who fell off a plane moving at 700 miles an hour, and somehow he's still alive. Like,
because of family, Jeff.
The power of family.
Family.
It's within them.
Family. It's so close.
My thing is like, I really am hoping this is not just a cop out for them to make Hugh Jackman be Wolverine until he's 90. Like, at some point, you know, I've spoken about wanting the X-Men to actually be a TV show. I think it works better as a show because there's so many characters that, like, doing a movie about a team where you're trying to introduce everybody and do a whole bunch of stuff, I just feel like it's a lot. So
right, what was that mutant show they had on
Generation X? And
no, it was the one with Polaris and Thunderhawk and all of them, where they're like running from the people rounding up all the mutants. It was on Fox, like same time as like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Gifted or
Gifted.
There it is.
Gifted.
Yeah, if they do something like that with X-Men, that would be good.
Yeah. So yeah, I think hopefully in the future, like, you know, any Hugh Jackman Wolverine will just be like a small cameo, and we'll go and figure out who really is going to be our new Wolverine, like, moving forward, because we need it. Like, he is an important character, and maybe they sideline him a little bit when they're building the new X-Men team and bring him on later the way they did in the comics. I wouldn't mind it being a first class, first team situation where you meet the original 5 and then they leave and you bring in the team that becomes X Factor or whatever. And I wouldn't mind them kind of telling something that's a little more comic true with X-Men, because the X-Men comics are more popular and, in my opinion, better than a lot of the Avengers stuff. We've talked numerous times about how Avengers were B-list for a lot of comic fans until the movies came out, to be honest. So, you know, they have gone through major character rehabilitation thanks to the MCU, which is always funny to me when people get so up in arms about the MCU not following the Avengers comics, because it's like nobody gave a shit about most of those comics. Like we used to throw Avengers cards out the bus window when you open the pack. Like all we wanted was X-Men. We'll get this Captain America out of here. Throwing them cards like Gambit. Car go boom.
Car go boom.
On I-20.
All right. Now, I did not mind the idea of doing an X-Men movie, but I think it would be a little bit more difficult to try to do individual X-Men movies, because for the most part, granted, every X-Man or woman or X-person or whatever, all of the X. I thought about it and I was like, you know what? They still call Storm an X-Man, so whatever. Nonetheless, every one of the characters has like their own origin, but for the most part, a lot of them don't have I don't think, enough backstory outside of their time with the X-Men to support a standalone movie.
Well, they can. That's what I'm saying. They can, because it's the MCU and not the comic, right? I didn't think Iron Man was good enough to deserve a movie, right? From the comic book, he was nothing special from the comic book. So that's the reason why I'm trying to distance myself from what I already know about them. It could, you know what I'm saying, is because you're right. Like in the comics, they don't. None of most of them started Xavier's school, right? That's when there's a little bit of backstory here and there before they get to Xavier, before Xavier finds them, so to speak.
Yeah,
but a lot of
there's the ones that come in as teenagers, and then there's the ones that come in as like adults. Right. And so you got your like
Cyclops. They do the movie right, then you'll care, right? Like Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
No one cared. They did the movie right. So you can make a backstory on anybody and make us care and figure it out. But
I think like looking at what X-Men 97 did versus what the previous X-Men movies have done, the heavy emphasis on a singular character, the what is it called, anchor being, I think as long as they don't go that route, because I would think even with the MCU, like Robert Downey Jr. starting to feel like the anchor being for that, because he died and everybody was mad at everything that came afterwards, even though some of it was actually good. Like we just want Iron Man. We miss him. We miss those cameos, even just like him showing up in the Spider-Man movies to be a mentor, and him showing up here or there, and just knowing he's gonna pop up, whether it's the briefcase or the nanotech. But I think with X-Men, we need to bring back the anthology series. We need to bring back the series that's like these things are connected through the story, but not necessarily connected through everybody in these stories knowing each other. It's thematically connected. And I think that is a good way to introduce the concept of mutants in the MCU, because like me and Sam have talked about numerous times, there are a lot of people where the MCU is the only comic shit they know. So we're coming in, a lot of us are coming in like, yeah, mutants and when they hit puberty and blah blah blah, and Rogue kissed her boyfriend and put him in the hospital, and we know all this stuff and we waiting to see all this stuff, and the average person is like, what the fuck is a mutant and where have they been if they're so powerful? And so, you know, the mutant stories most of them are allegories for a lot of different things, whether it be race or gender or, sexuality, all these other types of things. Those are the types of things that they represent. And I think, like RG was saying, telling some of those stories in a singular way, which the X-Men cartoon does a lot. Like there are a lot of like backstory cartoons, or Gambit has to go back home to the bayou, or Wolverine is out in Alaska randomly by itself.
But that's going to take
Inuits.
thought and skill, right? I think with the
Yeah.
X-Men movies, what they try to do is go, let's make some fans, right? And look at what this one can do, and this one here, and it's like you're watching like 50 different people, and you can't even concentrate on who's doing what. Oh, this one does fire, and this one can freeze it. Okay, we get it. Like these are all cool, but what's the point? We're missing.
What does it mean? How are they connected to each other?
Yeah,
why do I care about these people? And outside of like Wolverine and like the Wolverine Scott Jean love triangle that wasn't really done well in the movies, but it's just like I just know that's what it was. Like outside of that, like there was no real like the random like love connection between like Storm and Nightcrawler in the second one. What are we doing?
Yeah,
like
and I'm sick of Wolverine. I'm gonna be honest. I'm sick of Wolverine. Like I want a Cyclops. Like Cyclops, X-Men '97. Cyclops is the man. Cyclops has always been the glue of the X-Men. He's the Captain America of the X-Men, right? Like the only thing I look at differently than you when it comes to the MCU and the Avengers is I saw Cap as the anchor being for them. Even though Iron Man's movie was the one that really set it off and really determined it, it was everybody got around. Cap was the leader. You know what I'm saying? He was the guy that, kind of forced everybody together in that way. And that's what I see with Cyclops. Cyclops is that guy. So tell his story a little bit. Introduce Cyclops. Then introduce Rogue, and introduce Gambit. Get these, other characters in it. Get us all interested in the, like Denise said, if you tell the story right, we won't care. I won't care if you tell a good story, but they have compelling stories, compelling backstories. How did this dude exist? And he couldn't open his eyes for so long. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. How do you make that? And even if it's not his origin story,
Yeah, I can. I can tell you that I'm already sitting over here like. You can't. It won't. The comics say, and I'll admit that I think that automatically kind of creates.
Sam already got the picket sign.
It's not even
not our X-Men.
No. I'm really sitting here, and I want to be on board with this. And let me clarify this. I want to be on board with this idea. And actually, let me put this comment back up. Yeah, we know that Storm has a whole time and a backstory that exists with
Black Panther,
the Shadow King.
Shadow
you know King. What I'm saying?
Yeah,
she was a little thief and whatnot, and then she was revered as a goddess in her village, and
with an accent.
You know what I'm saying? And like by the time she came along with the X-Men, she was already established what she could do in her powers. Scott, Cyclops, he was like 16 when he stopped being able to open his eyes. And Professor X came and moved him up at that time. And he grew up inside the mansion.
Right.
It would be very difficult for me to disconnect and allow you to give me any kind of origin story. I'm gonna be watching a whole movie about this kid. And the only time he can actually have his moment to shine is once he gets to the school and starts trying to learn how to adapt and use his powers. But now he's at the X Mansion and there's other people there at the same time. And he's learning to either become the leader, the beginning of the X-Men. You can kind of
change that. Change that.
Balance it.
Let the MCU change it.
I get that. But
let the
now
MCU make it that's why they even start a school.
So now you are.
The good book says
completely changing
all ye who pass, you sacrilege.
I mean, you just and obviously we're gonna have to give up some stuff in order to allow the X-Men to get their individual origins in the MCU. Or
If they
perhaps perhaps we just bring these characters that we've been seeing since 2010, 2009, and just let them be X-Men.
This is okay.
I could do that as well.
I think I think that origins are a good way to start because all of the power sets are so varied. Like X-Men is one of them things where it's like you never know what the hell. You never know what the and so I'm not saying change it, but I think that in terms of origins, it doesn't all have to be every single person gets a singular origin story. Like
Right.
Cyclops origin story all on his own is not interesting enough for 2 hours. But him dealing with that in the midst of falling in love with Jean and in the midst of competing with Warren for Jean's affections and him learning how to be a team. So now you have a movie that's just 5 people. I mean, it's basically this is the Mighty Ducks. You know what I'm saying? You got a small, limited number of people who you are focusing on, but then other characters like the ones who come in grown, like we can do a Disney Plus Gambit origin, Disney Plus Storm origins, Disney Plus Rogue origins, and every one of those movies ends up with them knocking on the door of the X Mansion, and then we go into like something grander. So we just have to. I feel like we have to be just discerning about who gets like where their origin is told. Is your origin told within the confines of an X-Men story as a whole? Or is your origin told in the confines of like you are interesting enough as a person before you got to the X-Men to be somebody who we want to focus on? Because I don't care about you
what Deadpool did,
arcade games.
Deadpool's origin, we started there, and then you have these secondary X-Men character kind of, hanging around. Like they were there, they were cool, but that wasn't the focus, and they were still able to incorporate that. So
no more of this emo rogue shit. I don't like that.
Yeah. I will say thank you for articulating the point I was making. People like Storm, like Gambit, there are some characters who would do well to have their individual movies, but some of these characters, their development is their time as an X-Man in the mansion, and you combine a few of those. And honestly, what was it? Beast, Marvel Girl, Iceman, Angel, and Cyclops. That's your first group. Put them in the mansion, show the growing pains, let it be a coming of age, end with them as adults. And if you want to have a nice tie-in, let it be a cameo, knock, knock, knock on the door. Anybody other than damn Wolverine. You know what I'm saying? And rock with it. I'm with that.
Wolverine needs to be the last one.
Or not at
build
all,
up the anticipation, and we don't have to go. Eventually Wolverine got to be an X-Men.
Eventually,
you can't not ever have Wolverine ever come back.
Eventually,
but we gonna do about 5, 6, 7 of these other people first.
There you go.
Like, let somebody else.
He can miss Marvel the situation.
Quick question: do we take it modern day or do we go back in time?
Modern day.
It
depends. Because if it's the 5, if we're telling the origin story of the 5, make that a 90s movie. So now they're grown in modern day.
Okay, I'm with you.
Or do some 90s John Hughes type shit. But like Gambit, if we telling a story where Gambit is already grown, then like
he could show up yesterday, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And his story could take place a week ago.
It just depends on where we're trying to get. Because what we need to end up with is a modern day team of X-Men in present day that can fight whoever is going to be the Avengers eventually. So when they make X-Men versus Avengers, we ain't got to do no time travel. All we need to do is collide these Earths and go from there.
I think if Final Destination can link all their movies back together, then surely X-Men can figure it out.
Amen.
I mean, you know what? That movie's called The Void, and everybody who's there can just teleport wherever the hell they need you to be. The TVA and the Void merge, and it all works out.
Except Channing Tatum.
You know what? I really don't even want to discuss
I'm not
anything
sure on that one.
at this time about our Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom. I think it's like way too early to have any kind of real opinion, other than just
That's whack as fuck, but
I didn't think it needed to happen that way, but the Russo brothers have not done wrong yet. I will wait and see what they do with this. That's the best I can do for now. I don't like it. I'll go on record as saying I don't like Robert Downey Jr. coming back. But I trust the Russo brothers to make good movies, so we'll wait and see what the vision is.
Yeah,
I just
vision.
hope.
I see what you did there.
I think my
where the hell is he at
is
anyway?
just-
Like, when we gonna get back to him? Like, damn it, man.
He's the only person that came back.
He's just flying around the earth.
with his what he got vitiligo.
You know what I'm saying?
The vitiligo version of
And it's like, hey, you know what I'm saying, Shawty, what is longing if not, you know? But nah. Anyway,
My only thing about RDJ is I hope that Marvel focuses still more on establishing the heroes who we are supposed to be rooting for, rather than focusing so much on the villains. I think that the over focus and the overshowing of Kang is what a large part of what undid a lot of that, because if Ant-Man is beating him with ants and he's unraveling thousands of times in Loki, where is this one that I'm supposed to be afraid of? All I've seen this dude is die and eat apples. So
and have a very strange
there's no
speech
pattern,
anticipation, no apparent reason except overacting.
Good riddance, man. That dude, I'm sorry, that dude is not no good actor. I don't care. As Kang, he was not no good actor. I ain't never seen him in nothing that I like. I'll say that too. And I ain't watched Lovecraft because you don't watch scary stuff.
Okay.
But
good God, that show was not scary.
Bruh, it's relative.
But I will say to this point, not that he was bad in that, but any other person could have been him in love, and it wouldn't have made a difference. He is not what made that show. I will say that.
Yeah. And I mean, anybody could have been Kang, but now I think Doom's going to be the new version of Kang. So I think they're going to somehow get Doom into the TVA once Doom finds out about that. And we all know. And Jeff is speaking to exactly what my issue overall with Disney has been after Endgame. Give me a villain. Give me a menacing villain in the background who is doing stuff that I need. I need somebody to actively root against. I need somebody who is strong enough and powerful enough that, I need a satisfying kill. I have not had a satisfying villain kill in a long time.
He was good in that. Yeah, he was good in that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Everybody was good at that. Shit.
It was great movie.
That's it.
I think we keep getting like Wizard of Oz with the villains, right? Like they're menacing and all of a sudden they're goofy as hell. You're like, what?
They keep trying to make it relatable.
I'll say this: the villain in Deadpool, I actually thought about you because RG when in the movie, because when she got shot and then she seemed like she was having her change of heart, and then she flipped it and was like, "No, I'm going to take this power and I'm going to do this myself." I was like, because when she got shot and let him go, I was like, RG is going to go bananas on this on the podcast.
That was my folding off
moment.
Yeah, because I'm so tired of it. Like, give me somebody that just, God damn, that motherfucker mean. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a bad guy, a villain.
I want a villain. And
I think that
everybody doesn't have to turn. Like, someone has to be in hell. It's not empty. So
But see, and even now with Doom, and that's the thing that I think is still a problem, because you're gonna find yourself in the same boat, because Doom is another Killmonger. He's not a hero, clearly,
Mm-hmm.
but he is right in his head.
Mhm.
He's doing what he thinks is the best course of action for the results he wants. Does that mean some people got to die? Sure. But you know who he's going to take care of? Latveria. Oh, everybody in Latveria, straight. 100. And don't come to
yeah.
Latveria acting a fool or doing nothing out of place, because we good over here.
The
But
same thing
I
with like
want this kind of
Magneto.
power, that kind of power, and this is what I got to do to get that power.
Mhm.
Bump whoever's in my way for me to get it. That is not going to be the kind of villain that it's going to be one of those villains where he's only evil if you look at it from this perspective. But if you think about it this way, you know what I'm saying? And ultimately, it's like, it'll be one of those things where, like, hey, Doom was right. You know what I'm saying? And I don't necessarily agree that like Thanos was right, but it was, again, Thanos thought he was doing what needed to be done. And it like, he wasn't saying all the rich people or all the poor people. He was literally like, half. I don't care what half, just half. It was fair,
Wrong
unbiased.
solution to a real problem. Like everybody, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you have the ability to kill half the world. You also have the ability to make infinite resources. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have just made how about all these uninhabited planets you just make habitable? Like, you could have done that too and not killed half the universe. So
Well,
we were
in
all
the
big
words
fans
of my dad, it's because it wasn't in the script.
Amen.
I think
Anytime
I
he
do
wanted
think,
to talk me off something, it wasn't in the script. So
I do think, like with the villains though, it is an interesting conversation, because the types of villains that have worked, like a lot of people complain about the Marvel villains, but it's like most of them are just supposed to be here for one movie, for the person to like overcome for this one movie. So they don't need to have some overarching philosophy that needs to be complex. Whereas Thanos was coming from a place of like, there are not enough resources, the universe is overpopulated. Rather than go from planet to planet killing half of the people like physically, I'm searching for a means to do it all at one point. But with Kang, I don't know what this motherfucker was trying to do.
We never got there.
We never got to the point where it was like with Thanos from the very beginning, it was very much like, okay, he is on some like universe altering type stuff. As we meet more characters and we meet more Infinity Stones and we find out the different power, we meet Gamora, and Gamora starts explaining like what Thanos' mission is. We start to understand how he wants that to unfold, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It makes a ton of sense. So by the time we get to Infinity War, by the time we get to Endgame, it's like, okay, we've been building up. We know what he's trying to do. When he succeeds, we understand, and we have the emotional capacity to like truly process like what actually happened, right? Our heroes lost. And this is what it means to lose. I don't know what it would mean to lose to Kang, except somebody would be trying to take over all the multiverses. Okay, then that just means it's going to be a whole bunch of heroes in every universe. And you haven't shown me a Kang that's capable of that. Whereas the only Thanos we've ever seen has been either sitting on the throne. He was quiet. He was sitting on the throne. And the first time he showed up, he went to work. No armor.
He stuffed the Hulk quick.
He suppressed the Hulk. Hulk didn't even want to
Gave
come
him
out.
the hands. Gave him the paws.
Nah, Hulk had trauma.
Not no powers. Not no zapping. Not no blasting. Not no guns. It was mano y mano. Yo, biggest, strongest, whatever. Cannot mess with this. I look at characters like Doom, and I feel like, if done right, has that mystique. I look at characters like Magneto. He has that mystique because they have a philosophy and they have principles. They did not do a good job, in my opinion, of establishing what Kang's principles were. And I understand, I do agree with with Ant that we were very early in the process, but they showed us way more of Kang early than they showed us of Thanos in the same amount of time. Like Thanos was in credits, Thanos was cameos, he was in Guardians, but he wasn't the big bad in Guardians. You know what I mean? He was just a side character that was kind of pulling strings from the side. But the Guardians plot was not about bringing down Thanos. It was about stopping Ronan. You know what I mean? So the Ant-Man plot was stopping Kang. Like, Ant-Man is a heist movie. Like, y'all stop bank robberies, y'all stop tech robberies. You guys do not stop universe altering
Cosmic
events by yourself. Like, if I'm in a jam and the universe is folding on itself and only Ant-Man shows up, I do not expect us to come out of that.
We saw where
unscathed.
he was in the void, so yeah.
Right. So so I think that moving forward with the character like Doom that has the mystique, where Kang was also like relatively unknown to common people, like you can move slower with Doom and you can build that up better, and I think create a villain that galvanizes the heroes to the place where you're like, okay, this is why I'm rooting for them, because this is the threat. And until they get back to that place, it's gonna be a bit of a struggle until they get back to focusing on the heroes and galvanizing the heroes against a threat that has been clearly like explained and defined. I think people are going to be dissatisfied no matter how good the Marvels was, no matter how good WandaVision is, no matter how good any of this stuff is. The connectivity is what everybody is looking for now, and that connectivity has to be based around galvanizing your heroes against a larger threat that actually like is understandable, not like some random black dude who like don't matter how many times you kill him because it's another one. Okay, then what are we doing?
Random black dude.
Not a random. He was still Kang. Like,
I mean, not when they found him in slavery.
Yeah, I know, right? He was Nubian though.
He was a
you know what I'm hoping they do with Doom, and this is just one of those hope things. With Agatha all along, I'm hoping they use Agatha all along to introduce Doom as a character. Not Doom, fully developed Doom, but Doom's
like Robert
mother.
Downey Jr., her ex-boyfriend.
Well, Doom's mother.
Doom's mother being a witch, and that's where he gets his magic. I could dig it.
Yeah. Like they just use that to be like, boop, and there's a nice little Easter egg that something happens, and that's how.
Just the last episode, she pregnant.
There you go. Like you say, it's like an anthology series, right? Like you said, you thematically, this is how you can tie things together without this direct reference to here's who we're talking about. I don't need to. Don't insult the audience. Don't treat me like I'm stupid. Just put it out there. Just subtext. Give me a little something. That okay, maybe that's that. All right, cool.
It'll be
that's a good way to introduce it. And then
it'll be a deep cut Easter egg, and it'll be something that you have to plant this seed, water it a little bit over episodes here and there, and then
she don't give birth.
Payoff.
She don't give birth to a little baby with a mask on.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That's too on the nose. All right. Any last thoughts? Any wrapping up here? RG, go ahead and tell everybody what they need to do before I get into that part. What do they need to do? They can follow us, they can like, they can subscribe. Tell
you should have done that when you came in here. If you started watching us from the beginning, you should have hit that like button. You should have hit that subscribe button. But if you're just joining us or you're watching this after, then definitely hit the like and subscribe. If you got a phone, then what you need to do is, I'm going in that direction all the way above my man's head to where the QR code is. Click that. That'll give you all our good visuals. Get there. Thank you, Jeff. So that you can catch us and get updated on all the latest things that we upload and all our wild and crazy ideas, and not just spoilers, but you got to get in on the therapies and and thorough IPs, so you can listen to where we all think things should go and why we watch that, and listen to some grown ass geeks explain some shit to you in a grown ass way.
15 best. Got some other good stuff here coming up. I do want to thank everybody for having joined me tonight. It's been a pleasure. Real quick, last thing, we'll just go around on a scale of 1 to 10, or you can give it a letter grade, whichever you prefer. I like my 1 to 10s because I can be a little more nuanced. Jeff gave an A earlier. RG, what would you rate Deadpool and Wolverine? Where would you
give it a 9?
9, nice solid 9. The marvelous Miss Kennedy, Teresa, where would you put Deadpool and Wolverine?
Once again, I'm a little disturbed that I agree with RG. I give it a 9.
And I'm gonna make a sip out of you yet, young lady.
I'd also like to say very quickly that I am glad when it comes to these Marvel movies that I have no expectations. I don't know the comics. It doesn't offend me when Channing Tatum plays Gambit. So, I'm
sacrilege.
Coming in with no expectations, so I am seldom disappointed.
Gotcha.
It's a good book.
You know what? It is refreshing. There is every once in a while I get to watch something that I know nothing about, and I get to just enjoy it for what it is. And I do miss those moments.
Until he saw the Acolyte.
Right.
Sorry.
There's only one Blade, Mr. Nisha. Scale of 1 to 10. Where would you put Deadpool?
I'm going 9.5.
9.5. Moving up. Jeff, you want to go 8?
Jeff. I go boom.
I'm still.
There it is, half a point.
I'm gonna go 9.
Okay.
Even Channing Tatum was why it wasn't a 10.
Wow. A whole point.
And he's why I got where the 0.5 came from.
Crazy how those two things work together. I guess
I gave it a 9 because the only thing that would have made it better for me is if Gambit threw in some of the Magic Mike movements. I was waiting for a body roll, and then it would have been a 10.
He said a body roll.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Gambit does not body roll.
That would have got it an 8 from me. If I would have had to watch a body roll, I would have gave it an 8.
Gambit does not body roll. It says here.
I was sitting in the theater right there next to my wife.
Lee.
Maybe a body roll would have made the movie a little more enjoyable overall. It's whatever for me. It didn't. Seeing Gambit on screen didn't hurt my feelings. In fact, I got a hell of a laugh out of it just because I knew I was gonna get to talk to Jeff about this. So it's gonna get an extra 0.5 points just for that. I'm gonna go with a 9.5. So it sounds to me like this is a movie you need to go check out. Don't worry about what it does, what it connects. Just go enjoy a good movie, a good time. Deadpool and Wolverine. Hey, we thank you for watching us. We are Grown A Geeks. For RG Cashmere, Jeffrey JPNT 17, Miss Teresa, and there is only one Blade. We are Grown A Geeks, and we are out of here. Peace.